Hey folks, Curtis Stone here. We're back with our series looking at all the states and provinces of North America and evaluating them based on a homesteading context. And today, I'm really excited to talk about Colorado. Colorado is a fascinating and beautiful part of the world. Much is this region. So I like to think about things in the macro, and it also helps cross borders in terms of our thinking, because like, what are borders? They're just government lines, right? They're just imaginary lines. But there are patterns that cross over, and this is a pattern that I'd love to illustrate for you right now when we consider Colorado and the experience that you have in this climate, and how it might cross borders, so that people in other places could think about this in the same way. So Colorado, for the large part, is a really beautiful mountainous. You see all these extremes in climates, especially when you get down to the most western or southwestern corner into Utah, and I'll talk about that when we talk about Durango. But if you live in any of these regions or have traveled through any of these regions, what you experience in Colorado, you're going to experience in degrees in all of these places, from British Columbia, Alberta, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, and even going down into New Mexico. There is a very similar experience. And what that is the Rocky Mountains, is this huge high mountain regionous areas where we get elevations like 3,000 meters. That's 9,000 feet, right? Huge, huge elevations. And with that, it brings climate variations, huge variations. If you're from Calgary or anywhere around here in Alberta, you know what the Chinooks are like. It's the same. Montana, they get them too. Wyoming, they get Chinooks here too. Maybe not as extreme as we get them in Canada. Well, it does depends on your elevation. But it'll be winter and it'll be minus 20 Celsius, and then all of a sudden it's like plus 20 Celsius. And that's a real Calgary thing, where you get these Chinook patterns where the weather moves up or down, and so you'll get a southern wind coming in. All of a sudden, that's so warm because it's coming up from New Mexico and Arizona, and whoa, we got this warm wind. Isn't this amazing? Well, it's cool, but it's also unstable, which can make it a challenge for homesteading. And it's why, like, these places are beautiful, but sometimes if your elevation's too high, it's really difficult to homestead. It's really difficult to grow food. It's really difficult to even grow feed for animals, because your season is so short and can be smashed. You can get a cold front in the summer, and you get these crazy hails that smash your crops, smash your greenhouses, winds that just destroy everything. That's a pattern that's going to exist in all these places. And so Colorado is certainly no exception to it. In fact, it's even more so in Colorado. Colorado gets some patterns that are, they're just, I don't know, maybe because it's further south, more people populate these areas, and so thus more people experience the weather, and then they report on the weather. You know, sometimes that's what all weather reporting comes down to is, oh, there's more patterns saying this, or there's more patterns saying that. Yes, but there's also more broadly just more reporting, because people are spreading out and they're reporting on the weather. So food for thought when you think about climate change and all the hysteria we hear about in the media industrial complex. So looking at Colorado, you got an interesting side and a not so interesting side, really, because the not so interesting side is the sides that's bordering the big ag states, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, in this particular area. So you get big ag, right? Same patterns that just come through state to state. This is all of Colorado is a semi-arid climate. So if we click on our Köppen-Geiger climate classification here, I'll kind of illustrate this in a second. Is that you get this big open, this is BSK, so this is the arid climate classification. So it's dry, just pretty much it's dry. All that varies is the temperature. And that's why in arid climate, you just have one specter of consideration, whereas when you look at the boreal and the temperate climates, there's more variables in precipitation and climate. So precipitation and climate or temperature. But so Colorado, what we see is this is just no-go zone, basically, because it's big ag, but it's also just BSK. When places are irrigated with BSK, they're quite nice. And that's what's kind of neat. When you look in Colorado, you get these little micro regions here. So you could see that little temperate. This is a CFB. So this is cold temperate. This is colder than what you'd experience in, say, all these other eastern regions, Kansas, Arkansas, so on and so forth. Cold temperate. This is more of a Canadian thing in British Columbia. In these regions here, we get these cold temperate climates. They're kind of cool, actually. But you get a winter, but you get a lot more precipitation. And all that precipitation in Colorado is dependent on its proximity to the Rocky Mountains, and as precipitation moves in from the ocean, how that precipitation interacts with the area around you. And why you have these green regions in Colorado is that these are high elevation mountains. Precipitation moves in from the west coast, it hits the mountains, and then it drizzles down the mountains. That's the broad climate pattern that's experienced when you live in mountains. And it's beautiful. That's what I love about mountains. And so when you're on the eastern side of that region in Colorado, it means that all that precipitation is soaked up into the mountains and it comes down the tributaries. That's why there's all these farms built off those tributary regions, right? So all that water hits these mountains, and then it ultimately comes back down this way. And it also makes its way back to the ocean, of course. And in here, this all makes its way back to the Mississippi region, coming down to the Mississippi Delta, and then back out into the Gulf. And so you don't want to be on that side. You also don't want to be on that side in Colorado, just because Denver is massive, and Denver is so woke now that it's hard to even, it used to be a pretty sweet city. I remember going down to Denver a long time ago, but now it's become like most of the cities. It's just been totally woke. It's 2 + 2 is 5. The world doesn't make any sense, and it's hard to get your head around. And it's also in the depths of man's creation. You want a real trip, go to the Denver airport. That's a weird, esoteric gaslighting event. That's another topic for another video, perhaps. But these regions are beautiful. Like, even Boulder is amazing too. It's another woke city, and I wouldn't recommend living there. However, there's some beautiful homestead property in this region. I've seen some of these regions. If you know the musician Gregory Alan Eisenhoff, he lives in this region and farms in this region. I've been to his farm, and it's amazing, and it's beautiful. And this, Colorado is so extreme because the elevations change so quickly. Just like when you're driving in Alberta and this is one of the most beautiful drives in the world, in my experience. I've been through all across North America. I've been through most U.S. states, at least 43 of them. And this drive coming down out of the mountains here is one of the most beautiful drives ever. And it's similar, actually, because the mountain ranges are so high and they really drop down. It's beautiful. The thing is that's different about Colorado and Alberta is that it's not as cold overall, and so there's less extremes. In here, you see snow-capped mountains in the summer. It's gorgeous. You don't always see that in Colorado. But anyways, it is beautiful nonetheless when you come down to the mountains. And so anyways, we want to avoid, the big cities and all that. That's always the way it is. And then some of the best areas are going to be in these areas that are way away from the cities, but coming down from these mountains, you get these beautiful, we picked these three because, if you've been to Colorado, these are unbelievable. Durango's, the market's is quite premium here. But the cool thing about this geographical area in Colorado in general is way out of this, and it's in nature, but there's some decent sized cities in here that get you all the things you need. Durango is like a pretty decent town that you can pretty much get whatever you need. Whatever you can't get there, you can get over here and get over here. Or you can just go stateside or across the state, and access other resources. Moab's a neat little town. Moab's a cool little town. If you're into mountain biking and rock climbing and any type of, outdoor sport. Moab's where it's at. But this drive, if you haven't done this drive before, drive from Moab to Durango, Colorado. It is the most fantastic geographical change you'll ever see. I've never seen anything like it. And there are beautiful, like the Big Sur coast in California. I mentioned Banff and the Canmore and all that. And Calgary is unbelievable. This is another one that is beyond words. Going from the crazy Mars-looking climate of Moab into Durango, and how it all changes and it becomes green and mountainous really fast. It is fascinating. So highly recommend that if you haven't done that drive. But when we get in here, what are we looking for? We're looking for tucked away homestead areas near tributaries, near trees, mountains. This is some premium stuff right up in here. This is beautiful. Even a lot of this farming that's going on in this area is fairly benign. This wouldn't be. This is going to be some big ag. So he's got like a part of a quarter section there. Oh yeah, look at that. And then he's got his I meant to say a center pivot. So this is big ag. You don't want to live anywhere near that. But you get up into these regions here, this isn't all necessarily going to be big ag. Some of this just might be hay cropping or alfalfa or feed for animals and stuff. But this is pretty beautiful stuff coming up into these mountains. And the cool thing about Colorado, so I kind of started riffing on climate, I'll go back, is that what you can observe here is Colorado has a ton of cool little microclimates, except this is all just like straight up steppe, semi-arid desert. Don't really want to be near that. But you come into these little zones here. This is all DFB and DFC, and then Arctic. So Arctic I wouldn't recommend. It's too high. Like the elevation there, 3,500 meters, right? Times 3 for feet. So it's crazy high. Too high. It's beautiful, and if you're into skiing, that might be cool. Definitely cool, but for homesteading, it can make it challenging. So DFC, that's this lighter purple region here. You can do that. That's what a lot of Alberta is DFC. But the DFB, and even the DFB that's on the edge of these BSK climates, super cool climate. That's where magic happens in homesteading and farming, is that when you're on the edge of climates. It can also be a risk. You might be a bit more prone to hail and stuff like that. But these DFB climates, like that's why Durango is super sweet, because you come out of all this BSK arid climate through these mild, this would be, if you could find a property in this zone with a CFA, this would be a fantastic climate to live in. And then there's some CFB, which is cold temperate. That's nice temperate, milder temperate, colder temperate, into Boreal. Boreal's beautiful. DFB, that's my climate. DFA is even warmer. That would be more like what you would find in Iowa. Going a bit further north, you find some further east, coming this way, you get some neat little pockets of DFA. There's not pockets. It's a bigger region of DFA. Here, let me just zoom out to finish making my point, so you don't sound like I'm just rambling. But yeah, this is all DFA. So that's kind of cool. It's like warm Boreal on the cusp of temperate. So DFA is a cool climate. But DFB is, what a lot of Canadians experience. That's what I'm in as a DFA. But this is beautiful. Beautiful summer, dry, but lots of snow in the winter. So, in these areas, you're going to find lots of cool spots that are up against mountain ridges. When you're looking for properties in these regions, you really want to consider aspect. So when you're down, let's just look at some aspect. So I think this is our go zone. So let's just pick an area and kind of just zoom in. So look at these mountainous patterns. Isn't that cool? But here, for example, you wouldn't want to live on this side because this is facing northwest. Okay. So you'd rule out anything like that. East is good. Southeast is best. So along this face here, you can see this will be a little bit south. You see that? So this would be a sweet place to live on a southeast aspect. And then you get shelter in the summer from the western sun, which is setting up here, which is super hot. And that's why you see different patterns in trees too. But this would be sweet. If you owned a property that was just, say, a nice rural piece of Colorado property, say it's like this, that's not even big. Let's go big. A little bit bigger. Let's say you got almost 40 acres there in the mountains of Colorado. Sorry, you can hear a saw in the background. That's the guys doing construction. But look at this. Look at a place like this. Okay, no infrastructure, all right? So that's a big consideration when you're looking at properties in a lot of these places, in a lot of these states, in that big pattern that I marked out. That's considered. Man, look at that mountain. Look at that pattern of that mountain. Isn't that suspicious? It's just so neat how geography and topography is created. But anyways, and by suspicious, I just mean it just looks like the hand of God to me. I don't know. I'm sorry. It just sometimes when you see things, you're like, what the hell is that? Anyways, we've got all kinds of neat aspects on a property like this. You've got, this western aspect. You wouldn't do anything there. You would probably want to be close to water. If you were to build on a homestead property like this, you might not want to have your house or your farming near the water because it might get you dark in the winter. But so we can find that out by just taking this little guy here and putting him down there. And let's just see what our aspect, when you're in deep mountains like this, you need to consider your aspect. Okay, so let's face the south here. And then, so this is what our view looks like down there. Let's look at our sun patterns. And go 12:21. That's the winter solstice. What does the day look like at the winter solstice there? Okay, so the sun comes up at 8:20. That's not bad. That's not bad down here at the lake or the pond or whatever it is. And it goes down at 3. Shit, that's not bad. Okay, so you know what? I would say, hey, you could build a house down there and you get lots of light. And you've also, this is your go zone of this property. This is where you want to be. And you got the mountains for fun, snowboarding and doing some, this property in the winter, you could do your own, what do you call it? Skiing, backcountry skiing. You could skin up here and then you could shred down this face and it's nice and wide open. This is so cool. But anyways, on a property like this is where you'd want to be. You want to be down by the water. Look at this. I bet you on this property too, there's a microclimate here. So we click on here. This is going to be DFB. Okay. That's broad. Down here in these trees, you're almost going to experience what a temperate climate is like because of the humidity that the trees hold on to. In the summertime, it'll be 110 degrees Celsius right here, maybe 130 degrees Celsius. You walk down into these trees, it'll be 85. I'm not kidding you. And I experienced that in my forest. That's exactly what it's like here. So anyways, that's a cool property. If it's a property in Colorado. But, when you're looking at places like this with just less infrastructure, you got to build it all. Yeah, look at that pattern. Isn't that far out? Isn't that cool? But anyways, up here, similar topography, similar land, a little less rocky, but way less infrastructure. This city is there's less stuff going on here than there would be in Durango. There's quite a bit of city there, right? But anyways, this video has already been 19 minutes long. I was kind of riffing a bit in this one. But if you guys enjoy these, give me a thumbs up. Let me know where you want me to go next. And if you want to learn more about Google Earth and the way I look for properties like this, there's a link in this video. Click that link. It'll take you to a web class where I'll show you 3 things you can use and I'll show you how to use Google Earth that you can use for when you're looking for property. And that'll save you hundreds of mistakes and hundreds of hours in time. And that's what these tools are there to do for us. So they're very helpful and they can save you a lot of driving around. All right, folks, we'll see you in the next one.